Well, we're joined now with by the managing director of Sea Truck Ferries, Alistair Eagles, and just as the ship's turning here, we're passing Greenoir at the moment. Alistair's company, Sea Truck, as many people know in the local area, operate the ro-ro service between Warrenpoint and Heysham, and in fact we'll probably pass, the ferry will pass us later on the night run to Heysham. And how are things going at the minute in Warrenpoint, Alistair?
Yeah, things are going pretty well. We're having the busiest year in Warrenpoint that we've had for a number of years. We hope to ship around 100,000 freight units this year. And there are slow signs that the market is starting to recover. But no, things are generally going pretty well for us, thank you. Yeah.
And of course, you had the new tonnage last year with the new ships from Flensburg.
Yeah, Sea Truck's gone through a building programme. We've built a total of 8 brand new ships. We have a fleet of 12 vessels now. So as well as operating the service into Warrenpoint, we also operate ferry services into Dublin. And then we also have 7 vessels in the external charter market. So we're chartering to DFDS, to P&O, to Stena. And we're also doing a charter at the moment, bringing an offshore wind farm from Denmark across to North Wales. So as well as our Irish Sea operation, we've got quite a varied operation, which gives us the ability to bring ships back to the Irish market as things recover. And we'd like to see some of the bigger, newer ships in Warrenpoint in the future.
Yes, and of course you operate a daily service to Heysham on the middle corridor in the Irish Sea.
Yeah, it's a twice daily service actually, so we're sailing from Warrenpoint every morning and every evening during the week, operating 11 sailings in each direction, so 22 sailings a week, moving around about 2,000 freight units per week between Warrenpoint and Heysham. So
now we know Alistair, that the port, Warrenpoint port, is a key economic driver in the South Down area immediately and then much further beyond. In terms of employment, roughly how many people are employed by Sea Truck in Warrenpoint?
Directly we have about 35 employees. We have a booking office where we accept and release the cargo. Our main accounts office is based in Warrenpoint, and also we undertake our own stevedoring operation in Warrenpoint. But I think it's important to understand that because we're primarily shipping trailers on their own, when a trailer comes off Sea Truck, unlike a ferry that you might see in Belfast or Dublin, the driver isn't simply driving off the ferry and out of the yard. The trailer's being taken off the ferry into the yard by ourselves, and then a local driver usually is coming to collect the trailer. So the local employment benefits, the local economic benefits are much greater for our style of unaccompanied operation than the more traditional driver accompanied operation.
Yes, well, we know that there's approximately 400 movements a day in and out of the port, and the secondary employment is very, very important. And of course, you yourself go back a long time, you have a long connection with Warrenpoint through merchant ferries, isn't that right?
Yeah, I first came to Warrenpoint, I think, on the merchant venture back in about 1990 as a student placement working for merchant ferries. I was with merchant ferries for a number of years, and then at merchant ferries the decision was taken to move from Warrenpoint to Dublin. That decision left an opening in Warrenpoint. A group of us left merchant ferries, set up Sea Truck with the support of the local haulage community, and the rest has been history really. But we've grown from, even in 2004 we had roughly 3% of the total Irish freight market. Right now we're just under 20% of the total Irish freight market, and hope that our style of operation with unaccompanied shipments en route into Warrenpoint from Heysham reduce road mileage for hauliers compared to the traditional ways of moving through Scotland to Northern Ireland or through Wales to the south of Ireland. We're trying to get people using the ports of Heysham and Liverpool, reducing road mileage, getting them into the port of Warrenpoint and into Dublin, which is closer to the origin and destination of their goods. So.
And of course, then there again, it's all about the bigger picture of conservation and cutting down on road miles. And
yeah, the green issue is important, but the green issue is only really important to the customers if they also save money. And the two things combined is what we're trying to offer on this middle corridor kind of service. Yeah. But there are some missing links too. We just had the very good news in the UK that we're going to get now a link road connecting Heysham to the M6. That's fantastic. We have a bit of a missing link in Warrenpoint by the very nature of our sailings, what our customers want. Our ships are arriving early in the morning and late in the afternoon. That means the peak of our traffic flows going to and from the harbour are actually directly in the morning and the evening rush hour. So it's no great surprise to the local community when they're stuck behind a trailer going through Newry, either in or out. And really something that we need at this stage is a direct link from the port of Warrenpoint to the main motorway connecting Belfast and Dublin, and that's really something that we have to work towards.
Yeah, well, we'll be speaking to Minister Donny Kennedy later on, but it's obvious that the Southern Relief Road is core to the future development of the Port of Warrenpoint and obviously to your own operation.
Yeah, we can grow. Warrenpoint Harbour are very supportive. We can grow with them, but there comes a point where we've invested in the right tonnage. Warrenpoint has invested in facilities. Our customers would like to do more through us, but there comes a point where we also need to see the investment in the road infrastructure to really connect the port to the main arterial route, and that's something that we will work hard on and hope to see in the coming years, although it's not an easy one by any stretch of the imagination. So
now, I was at the AGM of the Warrenpoint Harbour Authority on Tuesday, and it was a very heartening report from both the chairman and the chief executive, and arrivals at the port are up 7.6%. The gross tonnage is up. Profits have doubled on last year, and there's been a capital investment of some 1.9 millions. Now, I noticed in the figures that ro-ro movements were down by just 2.4%, and I would suggest to you that in a contracting and very competitive market, Seatruck must, yourself and the management team must feel very, very satisfied with those figures in what have been very difficult trading conditions.
Yeah, it's been really tough. The last year has been really tough for everyone. The Harbour Authority has been very supportive. We're now seeing growth. Last week in Warrenpoint, literally last week, was the busiest week we've had for I think 5 years. This week is actually looking busier than the previous week. So we are now starting to see some growth. This year we're ahead of where we were at this time last year. The overall market is still completely flat. There is no growth in the Irish Sea freight market, full stop. But we are growing our figures and the Warrenpoint figures are increasing. So yeah, we're cautiously optimistic, and certainly we have the capacity on the ships to move a great deal more traffic through Warrenpoint. Even with the existing tonnage we have, we can easily ship another 15 or 20,000 units with the existing ships, and when we get to that point, we've got the tonnage to put a third ship, to add ships, to do what we need to do to grow the market, to grow the Warrenpoint volumes, and make a real success, not just for Seatruck and not just for the port, but for the entire local community, because the importance of having this route to the local community should not be underestimated, and we're very thankful for the support that they give us and for the help. And you know, Warrenpoint's a great place to be. It's where Seatruck started out, it's where our heart is. It's a fantastic facility, and
so we can look forward with confidence to the future with the partnership of Seatruck and Warrenpoint Port.
Absolutely, we've got a long-term deal with Warrenpoint Harbour Authority. Every day in shipping is different. Who knows where the next challenge will come? But yeah, we're confident that we can make a real success of our Warrenpoint route, and you know, hopefully the future is starting to look a little brighter after several years of quite difficult times for us all in the shipping, in the harbour, and in the general haulage community locally. So hopefully things are starting to turn a corner.
Alistair Eagles, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Well, we're here on the bridge of the Gulden Leeuw, the Gulden Leeuw, what in English, Leeuw in Dutch is for lion. So we're on the Gulden Lion, on the bridge, and I have with me here Michael Cunningham, who's the lock pilot tonight, son of Leeuw Cunningham in Greencastle, and a different ship to what you would normally be used to, Michael.
It certainly is, yeah. It certainly is, James, yeah.
And really, what difference is there?
Well, normally the ship goes directly in with a cargo. So you're preparing the crew would prepare the ship for arrival, getting the cargo hold ready and paperwork and what have you is required for the port. And on here, completely different. Cargo this evening is passengers.
Yeah.
And the crew are preparing drinks, food, music, entertainment, and of course sales.
Yeah.
A lot of sail handling. We had a good sail coming down the lock there. Under sail, 6 knots. It's lovely.
Lovely.
Cracking, yeah.
And we're just passing the port of Greenore, and there was a few ships lying outside when we were out with your father on Monday.
Yeah.
And have they been discharged yet, or what's happening with those?
Yes, they went into Greenore. Some of them went in last night. They worked through the night, discharging the cargo, and back out again early this morning.
Oh, very good. So, in terms of trade in general, how is the Carlingford Lock performing in general?
It's keeping up with the best of them. Obviously, there's been a big drop in work, big drop in cargoes, but Carlingford Lock certainly seems to keep up with the best of them. So, in that respect, we have a good location, so that seems to have helped with the cargo.
Very good. And of course your family's involved as well, Michael, in the maintenance of the buoys on the channel and the lighthouse as well.
That's right, yeah. My uncle Thomas, he looks after the maintenance of the buoys, all the navigation buoys on the loch. And my uncle Sean, he's the attending lighthouse keeper for Hulbolan Lighthouse and the transit buoys. Your dad was telling us on Monday that the lighthouse, the last keeper actually left, that lived in when the keepers went out and stayed there, that the last keeper left in 1965. In 65, that's right, yeah, 1965.
So your Uncle Sean now looks after all maintenance for Irish Lights?
Just in Carlingford Lock, he looks after the lighthouse here.
Yeah.
It's all solar panels now and unmanned, computerised. Any problems, the lighthouse will send a text message to Irish Lights themselves, and then they will contact Sean, and he'll come out and sort out the problem, change the bulb or whatever the problem is.
Lovely.
Yeah. And he'll maintain, keep the lighthouse clean and tidy. He'll go out and give a check every month.
So again, technology to the fore.
Yes, absolutely.
I see another well-known local man coming in here, former councillor Jim McCart. Jim, are you enjoying your trip this evening?
Yes, I always enjoy these trips because I'm a great believer in taking Warrenpoint back to the sea, and for years it was neglected. And now with events like this, people are beginning to know the advantages that we have where we're situated.
And of course, you were a long-time member, apart from being a member of the council, you were a member of the Harbour Authority.
I was, believe it or not, 27 years on the harbour. I saw this grow from virtually nothing to what it is nowadays. One of the major ports, not only in the north of Ireland, but in all of Ireland. But I was one of the small team of people who had this idea in their heads. There was always shipping services from the loch to the UK mainland.
Yes.
There was Newry, Liverpool. There was Warrenpoint, Liverpool. There was Greenore, Holyhead. Those are a few. And I'm a great believer that if it was good enough then, it would be good enough now.
And of course, next year we're going to have the first ever cruise ship coming to the port of Warrenpoint.
I never believed that we would ever see a cruise ship, and the fact that we're getting a cruise ship is due to the fact that the Harbour Authority and in my time on it, we had the good business sense to dredge the channel. because no matter how good your facilities are, if your channel's not right, you're beat before you start.
Yeah. So hopefully, Michael, yourself, your dad will be at the helm of the cruise ship next year.
Yeah, we will indeed. Yeah, look forward to it. Yeah.
And Jim, hopefully you'll be there too, and a passenger.
It would be the icing on my cake, with one exception. One thing that I have always regretted, that we never got an oil depot in Warrenpoint. I mean, if you look, oil superseded coal.
Yes.
And coal, one time we done, this is hard to believe, we done 400,000 tonnes a year, and now coal coming in. Oil took it over, but we never got an oil depot. We were on the point of getting an oil depot when the powers that be, or better rephrase that, when some people with interest in Belfast killed it.
Well, just when you mentioned the oil, Jim, just last month the ship-to-ship bunkering started in Warrenpoint for the first time.
Yes, I was very pleased to hear that. At least it was a step in the right direction, because though a few years ago we had on the facility is there, we had tanks which would take bulk chemicals such as sulfuric acid and things like that, but it never really developed as it should have developed. The ship-to-ship bunkering is a start in the right direction. At least there's maybe other oil people out there who can see the potential of Warrenpoint Port. But one of the best things that ever happened was the Ro-Ro.
Oh yes, we were talking to Alistair Eagles, the managing director, earlier on, and of course the Ro-Ro is the backbone of the port, really.
The Ro-Ro is the meat in the sandwich. I mean, if you take the fact that we now have 2 sailings a day to Heysham with big vessels, and they are big vessels. Had anybody told me that you would have had a regular service at any state of the tide with a 10,000 ton vessel, I would have told them that they were living in Cloud Cuckoo land.
Well, now we have it, and long may it continue.
Now we have it, and I hope that as one who knew the fight to get it, that the people who are now entrusted with it will look after it and develop it more.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Jim. Thank you. Well, we're back in Warrenpoint now, just returned from the trip to Carlingford Lough, and I'm joined here by DRD Minister Danny Kennedy. And what did you think of the trip tonight, Danny?
Well, it's been great fun. It's been a great atmosphere on board, great spirit, and of course with the Blues in the Bay Festival adding to it. But I think it's been an opportunity for the harbour to show its best foot forward and to entertain its patrons and its supporters and its friends and its associates. So I've been very pleased to, as Minister, to come down tonight and enjoy a really great evening.
And of course you mentioned the Blues in the Bay, which has now become an international festival, and really it's a sign of the vibrancy in the whole of our area now at the moment.
I think most particularly the Blues in the Bay has carved out its own particular niche for the Warrenpoint and for the South Down area, and I warmly congratulate Ian Sands and the organisers and people who have put in tremendous amount of work, and we can see that people are enjoying it, and I think people do realise that this is the place to be if they're interested in jazz and blues.
Now, to get back to our hosts tonight, the Warrenpoint Harbour Authority, the annual general meeting was on Tuesday past, and the annual report indicated an increase of 7.6% in vessel arrivals. Tonnage is up. Profits have been doubled on last year, and there was capital investment of some 1.9 millions. The Port of Warrenpoint is a key economic driver in our area.
Yep, absolutely, and I'm very proud as DRD Minister, and of course being a local man, to confirm the huge economic success. But it's more than an economic success. It provides very necessary jobs. It gives employment, and there is spin-off to the town and to the wider area. And so I'm delighted that Peter and the members of the board and everybody playing their part, particularly the workforce, who work so hard to create the circumstances of success here. And Warrenpoint can be truly proud of the Harbour Authority and everyone involved in it.
And of course we have cut a niche in the roll-on, roll-off sector with sea truck ferries who have been here now since merchant ferries left back in 1986, and they are the backbone of the port.
Well, very much, and had the opportunity earlier to speak with Alistair, their Chief Executive. He's very buoyant and very enthusiastic about the operation here. They're going well, but I think he recognises the work of the authority in attracting them there and keeping them here, and I think the potential for to continue the growth of that with a sea truck, I think, is enormous.
Now, key, Donny, and this is under your remit, key to this area is the Southern Relief Road, which is crucial to the future development of the port and to avoid the strangulation of port traffic with the heavy traffic situation that we have in Newry. And could you give us any indicator about the Southern Relief Road?
Well, as Roads Minister, obviously it's a key priority, I think, for this area. I think it's recognised as such. I'm pleased that progress has been made on it to identify that it is possible from an engineering point of view. It's now a matter of working through its processes and going through the various approvals that it needs. I'm keen as both a local representative, but most especially as Roads Minister, to see it progress as quickly as possible. These things take time. There are considerations, environmental and otherwise, that have to be taken seriously. There are processes, but I very much hope that during my tenure as Roads Minister that we can see progress on the Southern Relief Road, because it is the secret that will unlock, I think, the traffic congestion problems around Warrenpoint and Newry, and I think the benefits are huge, and I think they're worth reaching for.
Well, on that very positive note, Donny, thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Lovely to see you, James. Thank
Okay,
you.
Donny.
Thank you.
I'm joined now in Warrenpoint by Councillor Harold McKee from Newry and Mourne District Council. And Harold, a good trip tonight.
That was an excellent trip tonight, James. It was an experience. Never first time ever on a tall ship, James. Technically, I would be minded in that sense, and I was really taken on by the size of the ship. Mass 43 metres high, and yet she only draws 4.2 of water. So I was just wondering about the stability of her. I wouldn't have liked to have been the first one to build her and take her out in sea trials.
Well, she has been converted. She was built in 1937 as a sail ship, and then she was converted. But as you say, you would have reserved about the stability.
Yeah, well, fine ship, James. I was just, I didn't get into the engine room, but 1,000 horsepower, she was steaming under there. And the sails, wonderful how the sails work, and the manpower required. There was 4 of us pulling on one rope, and it was almost near the deadline. And the fellow we were working with said, normally it's pulled by 10 men to get those sails into place. So there's certainly a lot of work. And he was asked at one time, had he ever a scary moment? And the captain said yes, there was a couple of times they got caught out with wind, and she was doing 14 knots and they couldn't get her to stop, and there wasn't enough manpower to control the sails, so they had to just keep sort of going round and round and round to sort of use up until the wind fell away again,
Well, now, Harold, to get back to the business end of things, you're a councillor with Newry and Mourne Council. You're also a member of the Harbour Authority, and things are sounding very positive after the Chief Executive's report at the annual meeting. How did you feel about the progress made this year?
James, I like to be somewhere where things are promising, and certainly since I joined, I can see where things are on the up. Where other businesses are dropping back, it's the port is certainly moving on. I'm also involved with Carnforth Lough Commissioner. I'm a commissioner, and with that, you need one thing to support the other, and all of that is looking good at the minute, James. And hopefully this will go from strength to strength. I do know there's different types of orders coming in. They have acquired like 8 acres of land there, and as soon as they acquired it, lots of people are looking to use it for storage and what have you. So things is really looking up, yeah.
And then, of course, we have the strong performance from the Ro-Ro end with Sea-Truck, and Alistair Eagles, the managing director, is very confident, very buoyant, and in fact he said that last week they had their busiest week in Warrenpoint, Heysham, in 4 years.
Yes, I think Warrenpoint seemed to be the port for that. They have tried Larne and they have tried Belfast, and both places weren't successful, but Warrenpoint being a sort of the centre of the length and breadth of Ireland, and it's very suitable, and we hope at one time we'll get a new Southern Relief Road, which is really needed to help and support the traffic. Obviously congestion's a problem getting maybe down to the point, but hopefully when that's in place things will improve again, yeah.
And Harold, you've also been a core supporter of the activities of the Newry Maritime Association in preserving the history of the shared maritime history of Carlingford Lough, with Newry obviously as the hub. And we're having a project now to mark the loss of the SS Alder in 1937 of Greencastle. And that's a project close to your heart.
It's close to my heart, James, just because the captain Robert Campbell and his wife Katie were on board that boat that night whenever she went down, and obviously there's a lot of I have friends and that who are related to the Campbells there. Obviously they find it a great loss even to this day. So certainly Newry Maritime Association are doing a very good work, James, and I hope that will continue, and I hope that the council will continue to support it, and I hope it grows from strength to strength. And I do believe there's a lot of room for expansion on that. You know, there could be perhaps some sort of a centre set up, like a mini Titanic centre, where we can expand on those type of things and go down through the history. And yourself are a real historian, maritime historian, James, and we've got to make best use of you while you're still here.
Well, hopefully that'll be for a day or two yet. But we are unveiling a memorial, as you know, for the Alder at the Locks on the 10th of August, and you were very much involved in that, and I'd like to record my appreciation, my thanks and appreciation to you for the very positive input that you have had to this process and the application from its inception.
Well, that's I can only do what I can do, Jim, but I know it's a worthy cause, and the maritime history is so important. Obviously the setting up of that business, whatever number of years ago it was, now set up by the Fisher family, who come from the Mourne area.
1852.
1852, yeah. Well, that was set up by the Fisher family from Mourne, so you know, obviously there's a lot of contacts down there, and we do know we're going to have a night on Monday the 27th coming up very shortly, James, and you're going to give a presentation on it, and I hope as many people will come along and hear what you have to say.
Well, we're looking forward to going to Kilkeel. We're looking forward to see everybody there to launch the project, as you say. And Harold, once again, thanks very much for your support, and I look forward to seeing you in Kilkeel on Monday night.
Thanks, James. Thank you.
Thank you, Harold. Well, here we are in the VIP lounge of the Gulden Leeuw with Captain Ariane, who has taken us on the trip tonight. And you're very welcome to Warrenpoint, Captain.
Yes, we arrived 2 days ago, and we feel very welcome here in the port. we are used, because when you come with a tall ship, with the sailing ship, it's something else. It's not a cargo ship. People see you coming, and like most of the people, they want to see it. They want to come to the quay. They are happy because there's something different in the harbor, and so we get here, and we had a lot of help with mooring and with power supply, with water bunkering, with garbage, with everything. So we are quite happy.
And where did you sail from, Captain?
We came from Hamburg in Germany, from the Hafengeburtstag. Every year they celebrate the harbor, the port of Hamburg. So we went there. There was also a little festival, and we had departure on Monday evening, and we need some diesel, some engine for the river Elbe. But after Helgoland, that's an island in the North Sea, after Helgoland the winds picked up and we had beautiful south winds, so we went all the way up to the north of Scotland, the Pentland Firth. Till there we had the wind, then the wind was over, we went west, and at the end of the Pentland Firth the north wind came and we went with sails again. We went down south, just 20 miles before Red Bay. Then the wind was over. It was Sunday morning, very early, so we dropped the anchor at Red Bay. We did some fishing. We catched a big kabeljauw, bacalhau, dorsch, how do you call it here? I don't know, but a big fish. And the next day, Monday morning, the wind picked up, anchor up, and we sailed the last part. We had good speed. We sailed almost the whole trip. The crew was happy when they arrived. It was a little bit of celebration, when you sail a ship only with the crew, only with 10 persons, then you are satisfied. Yeah.
And Captain, first impressions of Carlingford Lock and Warrenpoint?
First impressions, well, we are not used to have hills in the Netherlands. So when you arrive from the sea, when you come into the port and you see all the hills, it's already different. Then another surprise for me was that because of the spring was quite late in the Netherlands. I thought it was only in the Netherlands, but it was here as well. But all the trees are already green, and the nature is very beautiful. So that was my first impression. And then before I did some research on the internet, so I was already informed about the harbor and the area. So that was not a surprise, but that it was already green and that the nature was already ahead on the situation in the Netherlands, it was a surprise for me.
And have you been to Ireland before?
No, first time.
Oh, this is your first time?
Yes, first time.
And well, I'm delighted that it's to Warrenpoint and Carlingford Lock that you've come. Could you tell us a little bit about your ship?
Yes, that's a big story. This ship is built as a research vessel in 1937 in Denmark, and 6-7 years ago, a friend, a very good friend and colleague of me, he had an idea about building a tall ship, because we have interest in tall ship racing and sail training, and for that you need a ship. And we had already ships, also schooners, but not fast enough for racing and not big enough for the big seas. So we had an idea to cooperate together, and we found a hull in Denmark, in Marstal. And this hull was just below 500 gross tonnage, and it was in good condition. So we thought about a major conversion, put up masts on it, and a new interior, new technique, new installations, and also by new regulations, everything by SOLAS, because all the tall ships have problems all around the world with regulation, and you don't want to have it. you want to have a safe ship, but also a ship which is allowed to come into every port without problems with customs or authorities. So that's the idea about building a tall ship with new certificates. So now we have a certificate for 84 persons worldwide, a SOLAS SPS, Special Purpose Ship certificate. And because we are just below 500 gross tonnage, we don't have ISPS. So we can go into the port, not always behind the gate, but also in the port without the gate. We have also a certificate for 200 persons, 20 miles coastal in the whole European Union. So we can go in whole Europe with 200 persons, 20 miles. That's a different certificate, but it's also classification by the EU, by the European Union. And with this combination, we can do tall ship races, sail training, corporate hospitality, and the concept works. This ship was perfect because as a research vessel, she had bow thruster, stern thruster, and a variable pitch main engine, so we can maneuver the ship very soft, very slowly into the port. In the 3 years now we have the ship, we never use the tugboat, and we always sailing out and in, never with a problem.
And although you're a sailing ship, you do have an engine.
We have an engine, yes, of course. Yeah. You need one. You need one to come into port for the last part. Otherwise you need.
And what type of engine do you have in this ship?
Yes, we have a Danish engine, Burmeister und Wain Alpha. So B and W Alpha. A few years ago, they started a cooperation with MAN,
Yes.
a German company. So now they work together. It's a modern V10. They built it in the 70s. So it's not that new anymore, but you can still have all the spare parts for it. It's no problem. They have a good workshop in Denmark. And we have good contact, so if we need something for the engine, in 24 hours it's on board.
And how many horsepower is this engine?
This engine is 1200 horsepower, but we reduced the capacity to 1000 horsepower, and that's for us it's easier. It's enough power. It's a sailing vessel now. We cannot go full engine against the wind or the waves because you will break your masts with too many horsepower. So you have to take care of your rigging, and if there's a good speed from behind, we can do more speed with sails than with the engine. So reducing of the engine was it was necessary for the rigging.
And what type of speed would that engine deliver if it was needed?
In the past, 12.5 knots, but we still do 11 knots or 12 knots, depending on the wind. We never go against the wind with that speed. So, but when we have good speed from behind and we have to go into port without sails, we still can use it.
Now you're leaving Warrenpoint on Friday morning. Where is your next destination?
Next destination, Belfast. There is also a festival with sailing ships. We have open ships, so they invited us and more ships, and we will open the ships for public.
Very good. Well, Captain Arian, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your hospitality tonight on Carlingford Lock. I know we had 198 people on board tonight, and everyone really enjoyed themselves. And I hope that we'll see you and your ship and your crew back in the port of Warrenpoint once again.
I hope so too. Yes, we had a good stopover, and we are glad that the people of Warrenpoint invited us to come here, and we felt very welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Captain. Thank you. Well, we're joined now by the Chief Executive of Warrenpoint Harbour Authority, Peter Conway. Peter, a very successful corporate trip tonight from the harbour.
Yes, James, we're very pleased. It's if you were to choose what to do as corporate entertainment for a business, it couldn't really be more appropriate. You know, we've got a very fine tall ship here. It's in Warrenpoint Port, and we can bring a lot of our customers, our suppliers, our friends from the area, a bit of corporate entertainment. You couldn't choose a better way of doing it than using your own harbour and your own facilities and the beauty of Carlingford Lough.
Yeah, I know we had a complement of 198 on board tonight, and everyone was really pleased with the trip and the entertainment and the hospitality, and as you say, a nice way to thank people that are involved with the port. Now, having said that, your annual meeting, the annual general meeting, was held on Tuesday past,
Yes.
and it was all very positive. I would say, you were quietly pleased with how the harbour performed in ever difficult circumstances.
That's right. Yes. Yes, it's been tough over the last few years. There's no doubt about it. There's been, I think every business has suffered as a result of this worldwide recession, and we've had our troubles as well. A couple of years ago, we lost our European container service, and that was tough. We had to make redundancies in the port, but slowly, we've picked up the pieces. I'm very pleased to say we now have 2 new container services, one to Bristol and one to Cardiff. And the last year we've really bucked the trend, and although the recession is still affecting a lot, we're beginning to find that bubbling up again. In fact, just looking at the statistics, last year was the second highest volume ever through the port of Warrenpoint, and not only that, the last month, April 2013, it's taken as far back as 7 years ago since we had as good a month. So it's looking good for this year as well.
And of course, on the figures for last year, the arrivals had risen by 7.6%.
Yes, that's right. We're delighted to see that both the import and the export sector are doing well. The exports are something which are, obviously very important for the future of the economy, both north and south. And we've found now that there's quite a lot of increased exports of manufactured goods, for a start, but also things like garden materials like peat and garden products. Very big market in the south of England, and Westland is a big company in Dungannon. They're using Warrenpoint for their entire export of that product. And we've recently even found that there's a lot of cement being exported. And people might say that's very strange. Why is that happening? Well, it's the southeast of England again. There's a boom going on there. We see recession, they're seeing boom. But they can't get enough cement, and we're exporting to the southeast of England. So it's good news for us. Good news for the people working in that sector in Northern Ireland and the Republic.
And of course, Peter, we've talked about it before. The secondary employment is so important. I mean, you mentioned the Westland Peat, for instance, and Sure Freight, the local based haulage and logistics company.
Yes.
Take a lot of that traffic into the port.
Oh, they do, yes.
They have vehicles deployed solely on that contract, and that's a prime example of how important the secondary employment generated from the port is to the area.
That's right, and you're quite right. Sure Freight is a very good example. I often speak to the drivers and their local people from around this area. They're very committed. They do a very good job. I have to say, one of the reasons why the port is successful and this region is successful, that in general, people are hard working. And I've worked in different parts of the world, and I've worked in different areas, and I do think maybe it's a local thing, maybe it's just people from the Newry and Mourne region, but there is a commitment to doing their best, going that extra mile, and at the end of the day it does pay off. So not only is there companies like Sure Freight and HMT and other companies like O'Reilly's and various other haulage companies, but there are companies that would be major suppliers to us in the region. I mean, we write checks every month for about £80,000 of supplies in the harbour, and all that money creates
It's going to
jobs
the
in
local economy.
The local economy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And Peter, I know that we have something in the region of 400 movements a day emanate from the port.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be right?
That's correct, yes. 450 truck movements a day. Now that means, because people think of ports as just ships, but in fact a great part of my responsibility and the job in the harbour is trucking, because for all the goods that are exported, they have to arrive here by truck, and those that are imported have to leave here by truck. So, someday you might come into a port and find any port, including Warrenpoint, no ships. But we're working hard because there's a lot of other activities in the trucking side of the business. So yeah, there are a lot of hauliers working in this area through the port as well.
Now, we spoke earlier on to the DRD Minister, Danny Kennedy, and we also spoke to the MD of Seatruck,
Yes.
Alistair Eagles,
Yes.
who was very buoyant about how things are going at the minute. But both those men spoke about the need for the Southern Relief Road.
Yes.
Because we all know what the traffic problems are like in Newry, and really, to a certain extent, it is strangulating development of the port.
Yes. Well, when I talk to my customers, and I do that as often as I can, it's an important part of business, they are always very complimentary about the location of Warrenpoint Newry, as we often refer to it, halfway between Dublin and Belfast on the economic corridor, with the most fantastic road network now in place, north and south. And the big problem is the bottleneck of Newry, because 90% of the vehicles using the port have only one way to go, and that is up the main A2 dual carriageway to Kilmurray Street, and then go either north towards Belfast and then west towards Dungannon and Enniskillen, or south going up the Dublin Hill to the A1. But no matter what way I speak to my customers, that's the one problem they have. And really that problem is going to have to be solved, because I speak not just as Chief Executive Warrenpoint Harbour, but I'm Secretary of the Newry Chamber of Commerce. And when you look at the businesses in Greenbank, and when you look at the businesses that are in Newry City itself, in the centre, that is a major problem, because that traffic, part of which is contributed by Warrenpoint Harbour, is bunging up the city of Newry. And we really need government to take action, to put something in and give us that connection between the A2 and the A1.
Yeah, and of course, core to your business here in the port, Peter, is the roll-on, roll-off service provided by Seatruck on the middle corridor to Heysham.
Yes.
And that is a constituent element of the port traffic today.
Yes. Well, as you say, and you've spoken to Alistair Eagle, he would be his company, Seatruck, would be our biggest customer. In a way, we'd refer to that like our anchor tenant. Critical and very important to the future of the port. That volume is essential. It's an ideal route, because we're going from the centre corridor of Ireland to the north of England, where all the cities are. So you've got a tremendous... Heysham is beside Liverpool, Manchester, Birmingham, Newcastle. So, it is a fantastic economic corridor, that link across the Irish Sea. Our big problem is when the trucks get here, or when they come here, they do get stuck in Newry. And unfortunately, our competitor ports don't have that problem.
Yeah.
That's why we have to push to do something about it.
Yeah. Well, Alistair was confident, very confident tonight, and he also praised the authority for the support which they gave to Seatruck. And he mentioned that last week was the busiest week that Seatruck had in the last 4 years, and he sees green shoots of recovery.
Yes, I'm glad to hear that he said that. We saw that through the figures ourselves, and yeah, we do our best to support that business, not in any way that gives them priority over anyone else. But of course, we work very closely with them. As I say, they are our major customer. But we have, also major customer, Comex McKinnon. They're the grain importers. They're a Dublin company, and they would supply animal feedstuffs to the entire region: South Down, Monaghan, Cavan, South Armagh. A lot of the businesses in that area that are into animal feeds, the Moy Parks, the piggeries and so on, all that feedstuff would come through Warrenpoint Port, and Comex McKinnon would be a major customer as well. And then following that, we've got the steel, timber, and these other products I mentioned earlier, like the cement export and the steel import.
Well, getting away from the business end, which is obviously progressing well, Peter, the Harbour Authority is also playing a very active part with their social responsibility, and are actively involved with local voluntary groups, our own Newry Maritime Association being one of them.
Yeah.
And I'm delighted to tell you that the anchor which you recently donated to the association has now pride of place in Fisher Park in Newry.
Yes, I'm very pleased. I saw that the other day when I was passing, James, and it's much better there than sitting in our yard. But it is historic. That anchor was found, as you know, in the Warrenpoint town dock, just where we're sitting now, a few years ago when there was a dredging operation. It's probably 200 years old, but it sits very well in Fisher Park, and we're delighted that it's of some use. And yeah, we like to take our responsibilities, social responsibilities, seriously. We're all part of the community. It is a public trust port. We're a business. The business has to operate profitably. But if we can put something back into the community, we try and do so. And we're particularly pleased to be associated with Newry, because, as I said before, without Newry Port, Warrenpoint Port wouldn't be here now. We're the, if you like, the grandfather, father, son situation. We're the son of the original father, which was Newry Port with the Albert Basin and the Newry Canal, and that was the son of the previous Newry Port, which went up the Clanrye directly. So yeah,
that's
it's
right.
Great to be associated with
We were a tidal port originally, and it's great. It's great, Peter, to see Warrenpoint now carrying on the maritime tradition of the area, and it's also we're very appreciative of the support that you're giving us to maintain our shared maritime heritage around Carlingford Lough.
It's a great pleasure to do that. I'm particularly interested in that myself, as you know, because I do a bit of boating, and there's nothing as inspirational as going out in this beautiful loch and looking on both sides at the wonderful scenery, and even passing up through the Narrows at Narrow Water and just watching Newry come into view with the steeples, and thinking, all those years ago, all those mariners, that was their welcome home when they came back from their seagoing voyages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's many a man was glad to see those lock gates.
Yes, and as we know, there are many sad instances where they left Newry and went down the canal through the Victoria Lough, out into the Carlingford Lough and out into the Irish Sea, and were lost because of either enemy action or storms or whatever, and didn't come back.
And in fact, we are marking the loss of the SS Alder, which sank off Greencastle in 1937, and we're putting our memorial at Victoria Locks on the 10th of August. And I mean, that happened just 10 miles down the loch.
Yes.
And as you say, it typifies the type of tragedy that bedeviled our maritime history.
Yes.
But it's great to have the Harbour Authority, Peter, on board as a corporate member.
Yes.
And can I just say thank you very much for the invitation this evening. And it was a really enjoyable night. And we look forward to working with you in the future.
Yeah.
And hopefully the Port of Warrenpoint will continue to expand and prosper.
Yes. Well, yes, and we'll do so with the sort of management structure we have in place and the marketing that we do and the support of the local community and the support of people like yourself and the Maritime Association.
Well, Peter Conway, Chief Executive of the Warrenpoint Harbour Authority, thank you very much.
Pleasure.